Well, let me ask you a question that probably no one wants me to ask.
Okay.
Because I was fascinated by a comment that you made on the roll for combat interview, but then didn't get elaborated on over there.
Okay.
You've clearly made arguments for the irrevocability and the way that we all believe that the OGL works, but you said that you could think of arguments for why it could be revoked.
Yeah, I don't think they're good arguments.
Okay, all right. But if you were to like, let's approach it this way. Instead of saying what are the arguments, let's say if we were going to fight this battle in court like Paizo is, what arguments should we anticipate from the other side that they might be giving? Let's approach it from that perspective then.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the strongest argument that they would have to say that it's irrevocable is that it doesn't say it's irrevocable, right? Like the best case scenario for proponents of its irrevocability would be a situation where the license just says it's irrevocable. And that's really it, I think, on that side of the ledger, right? Like the argument would have to be, it doesn't say it's irrevocable, therefore it's revocable. Like, I don't think that's a great argument, frankly. Look, I deal with copyright licenses a lot in my work. And I'm speaking as, copyright licensing is and copyright law generally is sort of national in scope and national in basis. So Canadian copyright law is going to be different from American copyright law, which is going to be different from English copyright law, which is going to be different from Spanish copyright law, et cetera. At least in the particularities. In the broad strokes, they're quite similar. But certainly every time I've seen a license which is revocable, it explicitly says it's revocable, and it explicitly says the circumstances in which it's revocable, right? So for example, like if you license content from one of the stock photo houses, like a Getty, or an online provider who makes, photographs and film clips available, their licenses will often explicitly state that they are revocable and explicitly state the circumstances in which they are revocable. And sometimes they're revocable like on a whim, right? Like if the licensor just decides to terminate it one day and pull the license, they can do that. Other situations are, if the content is being used in a way that they find objectionable, if they receive notice of a potential copyright infringement claim, if they decide that they're going into a different line of business, like there's usually a set of situations in which the license is revocable. It's odd in my experience for a revocable license not to mention that it's revocable and not to mention the circumstances in which it's revocable. So like I said, if I was lining up the arguments on either side of the table, I think the arguments in favor of it being irrevocable, there's more of them, and they're just stronger inherently than the arguments that it's a revocable license.